Anything, please, you are muted.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Welcome, everybody, and good morning. I hope you're excited to be here because I am. Okay, today we are looking at leading through change, HR strategies for culture and employee engagement. So this May's webinar is quite packed. So I want us to, get seated, get our writing materials, and, just stay tuned to today's webinar. Our learning objectives for today want to understand change's impact on workplace culture and morale. We want to explore the critical role of HR in navigating change sustainably. We want to identify employee reactions and practical ways to manage resistance. We want to learn actionable strategies for communication and connection and gain insight into building a resilient, adaptable workplace culture. I believe that most of us here are HR professionals, and we really need this so as not to introduce change and everything just, drops and gets scattered. So I hope you're excited. So housekeeping rules, let's ensure that we mute our mics. If you have any question, just drop it in the chat box. And maybe at the end of the webinar, there's going to be time for you to ask your questions, and you just raise your hand and we're going to unmute you and you ask a question. If you're shy, you can just drop it in the chat box. So let me talk about our facilitators for today. Our first facilitator, Adewale Moses Fashina, is a results-driven HR leader with years of experience delivering HR transformation, talent management, and organizational development solutions across financial services, insurance, telecommunications, oil and gas, and non-profit sectors. So is well versed. Is currently serving as Head of Outsourcing and Head of Learning and Development at Kimberly Ryan Limited. He leads strategic HR projects including culture transformation, compensation and benefits design, performance management systems, job evaluation, competency frameworks, and process optimization. He holds a BSc in Civil Engineering from Obafemi Awolowo University and is pursuing an MBA at the University of Lagos. Is certified in PHRI, HRBP, ACIPM, CMD, Management Training Consultant, and Business Process Improvement at Lagos Business School. Adewale is recognized for translating HR strategy into measurable business outcomes, enhancing employee engagement, retention, and sustainable growth. So I want you guys to, keep calm and listen because he has a lot to tell us from his wealth of experience and wealth of knowledge. Our second facilitator, Samuel Duff, is a people-focused talent professional with experience spanning talent partnership, talent analysis, people and culture strategy. His background combines strategic insights with data-driven decision-making, from optimizing recruitment processes and workforce planning to championing employee engagement. He believes culture is the heartbeat of any company, whether it's refining recruitment strategies, improving the employee experience, or using insights to guide people initiatives. Is driven by the goal of creating workplaces where talent feels valued, inspired, and empowered to make an impact. So I'm so excited, and I hope you're excited. You can drop your reactions to show how excited you are for today's webinar. So they have a lot to unpack, a whole lot to unpack for us. So let us keep calm. So I would like to invite our first facilitator. Yes, our first facilitator, Samuel Duff, to begin his own session, Leading Through Change, HR Strategies for Culture and Employee Engagement. So let us, drop our reactions in the chat box to show that, we are following and we're excited. Come on, let's go.
Okay, thank you. And so that's so energetic. Thank you so much. And good morning to everyone who has joined the webinar today. Promises to be a very, very insightful and exciting session, and you would get value from it. So like Anton said already, we're talking about something very, very important today. Leading through change. Leading through change, HR strategies for culture and employee engagement. So first thing is, how does change feel in your organization today? How do your people, take in change? How do they perceive change? Is it something that they easily adjust to? So change is the new normal of work, right? Organizations typically go through change process from restructuring, there's sometimes shifting reporting lines, right? Sometimes departmental goals are changing, and so change is normal in organizations. Sometimes it's AI adoption, technology, right? And sometimes, there's also the rapid digital transformation that organizations go through. And so it is a new normal of work. And it's very imperative for us to know how to manage this change process. Of course, there's also cost costing as well. Organizations, looking at the economic situation, looking at the financial books, they're cutting costs, and business is shifting priorities and all of that. And, the reality is change is not just operational. It's not just all of the processes and all of the frameworks, all of the technology, but it is deeply personal, especially on the part of your staff. And so this is why we're having this interaction today to, help you get a hold of how you can manage your change process end to end and ensure that you boost employee morale and employee engagement after the change process is completed, right? So there's the weight of change on your people, right? First is uncertainty, right? During every change process, most of your staff, they're asking questions about their future, about my role, about, there is fear as well. Fear regarding job security, and of course, also there's burnout as well. So these are some of the weights that your people have to go through during the change process, and it's very important for you to know this, that there's uncertainty, Some of them go through fear. There are questions, unanswered questions. There are some gossips going everywhere, right? And this is something that we all know, and so there's burnout as well. Stress over new expectations. Oh, this new technology coming in now. Oh, there's this merger, there's this change. Oh, we are merging with this other organization. So there is increased stress over expectations or performance, even workload as well, right? And then, so all of these things lead to burnout, and that's what we call the emotional weight of change on your people. And that's why, as HR professional, you need to be in this room as we have this conversation, so you can be able to manage the process, manage your people, and not lose your people during the change process. So there's always also resistance as well, but then resistance is often seen as negativity or lack of cooperation during the change process, right? So the first response of your people most times is they resist change, right? They don't want to flow with change, right? But the reality is, and this is the catch, employees do not just resist the change in itself, right? What they are resisting or what they are not clear about is loss of control, right? And also lack of clarity. And this is what, makes them to resist all of your change process, all of your new AI technology or everything, because there's lack of control, there's loss of control, and there's lack of clarity during your change process. That's why, this webinar is very important. Now, during a change process, organizations often focus on deadlines, timelines, even the outcome. Or when we put this thing in place, put this AI in place, do this merger, do all of this, this is what we are going to be at, which is very fine, right? And so they focus heavily on operational processes. Oh, let's get this, let's do this, let's get systems on ground. But then what they overlook many times, and which is very key, is the people. How do people perceive the change? Are the people even ready, emotionally ready to take in this change? Right? Also trust, and then perception, and also feedback, right? And this is why, as a professional, this is where you step in to ensure, you take full hold of the process and not lose your people as well. So there's also what we call the emotional cycle of change, right? Change would usually go through the change curve. So first is the resistance phase. Like I said, your staff would first of all, they'll be in shock. Right? Where is this coming from? How are we going to? This cannot be right, right? And then they go into denial. This will not happen. It's not true, right? And then there is anger, there's blame, and then there's fear. So this is the resistance phase, and then it moves on to frustration, resistance and frustration, and then slowly the curve begins to spike high, and it goes to the acceptance phase. Okay, let's explore the idea. Okay, let's even see. Let's begin to adjust a little bit. Okay, let's give it a trial. Let's roll out the tool and let's see if it will work. And that's the exploration phase, right? And then they begin to now go into the integration. This okay, maybe this will work. All right, guys, let's do it. All right. And so you want to ensure that you understand this emotional cycle of change and this curve and hold your people, very well, and so that you don't lose them through the process. So there's resistance phase, there's acceptance phase. That's like the new status quo. Oh, this has come to stay now. So what do we do about it? How can I begin to learn the tech tool very well so that my job doesn't become, obsolete? So this is the emotional cycle of change. And definitely, as a people professional, your people are your number one asset, right? And so you want to ensure that you take a hold of this process. So revealing the true strength of a change process. Number one is workplace culture, right? Change reveals whether a culture is built on trust or compliance. Very, very key. There are some companies who they just want to maybe hit a change, and they don't even care about what the employees are saying. They're not taking feedback. There are no town hall meetings. There are no check-ins. There are no, questions. So you can see that strong cultures that facilitate change, strong cultures facilitate collaboration during stress process up, right? And so there's that collaboration, there is that communication during the change process. That shows the culture of the organization. Of course, employee engagement as well reveals the strength during the change process. Employees always will maintain discretionary efforts during shifts. Let's quickly talk about the strategic role of HR during change process. Now, we want to move beyond, frameworks and policies and approvals and all of that to really talk about what are the key areas, what are the key drivers as HR professional. What can I put in place to ensure that my change is not poorly managed, or my change, gets the result and I don't lose my people? What are those key areas? Number one is communication. This cannot be overemphasized. Communication is really key during your change process. So you want to ensure that there's clarity. There's clarity, across all channels. You're sending your emails, you're having one-on-ones, you're having meetings with line managers, they are cascading down the information down to the direct reports. There's clarity of communication. Is this the merger that's going to happen? Is it a new system that's going to happen? Is it a new process? Is it a new policy? As a HR professional, you want to take and you want to ensure that communication is open, right? And of course, coordination. You want to align management, leadership, and management behaviors. Of course, you also want to be there for your people, support during the change process. Like we said earlier, change is very emotional for people, right? So as a professional, you want to give the support for your people. You want to maintain morale. You want to ensure emotional wellness. You are there for people. You're taking the feedback. You're addressing questions. You're escalating to management. You're providing the needed support during.
Hi, Samuel, we cannot hear you. Hello, Samuel. Hi, Samuel. Okay, I guess network issues.
Okay,
Oh my God. Yes.
I think Samuel's network is really bad. So what I would do, let me just continue from here. When it comes up, then it can go on from there. So he was talking about some very critical aspect of change and the fact that it's very emotional. For management, a lot of times it's naira and kobo, it's figures, but for the staff who are going to be the one in the trenches, as it were, right? It's a lot of emotions that are attached. Then that's where communication comes in. You hear a lot, you see a lot in especially big organizations, even small organizations now, right? Where you see people, changes happening and people don't know what is happening. They just get in here and there, maybe from the secretary that head his boss talking about something that will happen, and then it becomes rumor, and then before you know it, it becomes a problem. People are, agitated and also as HR people, we have to create that room, right? So that communication is managed. Of course, not like everything will be said at once, but at least it's properly managed. Then also to supporting transition, this is critical. Knowing the fact that even though change, you as a leader, you have seen the change clearly, right? It's clear, you have seen the vision, it's clear to you. But the people that are receiving it, they are not there when you were casting the vision, so to say. Some of them did not even sit in the strategy sessions where that was discussed. So their perspective is totally different from what you get when you are sitting with maybe your management meeting. So there's need for support for that transition. And then a bulk of the load lies on the line managers, right? But what we've also discovered in our engagement as a consulting firm with some of our clients is that the line manager seems to just be focused on their deliverables. And that's why the HR comes in, because HR is the one that is not able to bridge that gap between the line manager doing his job, which is quite all right, but also helping the people to, to transit when it comes to change, depending on the kind of, whether it's technology, whether it's a merger or acquisition or any kind of change that is happening, or even this current economic, shift that is happening in Nigeria now, where things just keep, going up. So these are part of where we come in as HR professionals to come up with strategies, to come up with frameworks that the line managers can use when addressing this. Then, of course, addressing resistance. You can't fight resistance. Sam said something when he was talking earlier that a lot of times we see resistance as people that just want to pull everything down. Not necessarily. I think we have to see resistance as normal, right? It's a normal thing. You are encroaching someone's space. So it's normal for them to react. So it's very important that once it's noticed, you quickly, you could address it. And from the HR perspective, yes, where we might get it wrong sometimes is HR trying to address this resistance alone. You cannot address it alone. Because let me give a classic example. Imagine a case where there's a change in technology in it that will affect the way a particular department run their operations. You've done your management meeting, you have brought in the vendor who have done their own presentation, and then management say, oh, we love this, it will save us maybe 20% cost, and they are on. And then the manager seems to say, oh, he was nodding his head. But unfortunately, maybe in his department, he himself did not carry the message to his people. So guess what will happen? In the department, the people are resisting. So the HR is trying to intervene. Oh, I heard that you did not use the software yesterday. Oh, you didn't, I checked the software, you did not log into it. You keep fighting the employee, but you're not realizing that the main man himself, which is the manager himself, is the number one person that you have to work with. Because if you don't get the manager or the line manager, whoever is supervising that unit, or you will likely not get the employees. The employees might be willing to even adjust, but when the person leading them, who they always look forward to, who they meet on a daily basis, right? So when it comes to this addressing resistance, we must always avoid the temptation of trying to solve the problem ourselves without carrying out the line managers, but they are really, really important. Then, of course, cultural reinforcement. We have to also let people know that things have to change. Things have to change. Things have to change. There is this myth, let's say myth, that used to be that big organizations, let's say Coca-Cola and these big organizations, they are the ones that are really affected by change most of the time because their systems are old. Let's use, for example, now even their plants, a lot of things are changing that will affect them, right? But the reality that we have now, which I'm sure we are all facing in our different organizations, is that change is affecting everybody. Even someone that started their business 2 years ago or 3 years ago, things are totally different. Let's look at AI, which is, I mean, the big elephant that is very obvious in the room, right? The impact of AI. I remember yesterday in the office, we were having a conversation during our management meeting, and we're talking about AI, how it's even shifting the solutions that we can provide, that we can use internally for our processes. Before now, you can just go up the shelf, get a very good ERP or a very good CRM. I mean, very nice, and they come and install it, and you're enjoying. But the reality is that even those that CRM rather that you have paid premium for, right? A lot of things have changed within that short space because AI has affected and has changed everything. So that's one of the changes that we have to also battle with now, right? So I think Sam is back now. So Sam, I think you can pick it up from here. Let me just read out this quote, then Sam, we continue from there. So this quote is quite interesting. Say, communication is the oxygen of change. Without it, the initiative quickly suffocates under the weight of uncertainty. I mean, I think that is well spelled out, that without communication, change cannot be successful, right? So Sam, please, I think you can take it off from here.
Thank you so much, Wally. And yes, rightly said, rightly said. Communication is the oxygen of change. Yes, without it, the initiative quickly suffocates under the weight of uncertainty. That's the word, uncertainty. Just like we had said earlier. So communication is, of course, like we said, is the strategic tool HR professionals should employ during the change process. You want to ensure that you are transparent all through the process. Right, honesty, having honest conversations about, the upcoming challenges, what impacts this change process might affect or might have on your employees. To ensure that you help them manage their expectations. Right, this is key. I mean, also, you want to ensure that your communication is consistent across every channel and across all the stages of your transition. All right. So this is one of the strategic tools that we have to employ. Listening as well. You want to ensure that you create a safe space for employees. For them to ask their questions. Of course, this is the importance of town hall meetings, if possible. To help address questions and concerns for the employees during the change process. So some of the impacts of poor change process. When a change is poorly led in an organization, the consequences are very, very obvious, right? Weakened communication. We've already said that already. There is reduced level of trust, which will impact on performance, definitely, right? And of course, there will be increased resistance to the change. Okay, and of course, when this happens, you realize that your outcome, what you're trying to achieve with the change process, is not done, right? Because of the poor management of the process. And of course, there's also the dropping of morale and productivity. I said that already. Productivity will be weakened, right, when the change process is not properly managed. So how do we build trust? Right, we talked about you have to follow through on commitments. You also want to involve your employees in decision-making processes. This is the importance of having meetings and check-ins, and obviously taking feedback back to management to ensure that whatever concerns your employees are having, right, the employees are being made to participate in decisions. So obviously, you want to also show radical empathy during the change process. This is very key as a HR professional. You want to put yourself in their shoes. How are they taking this change, especially this AI age, right? Right? How do they feel? How do they take in, all of the change process? And you want to ensure that the leadership and the senior management are accessible. You can easily reach them. Their questions and their concerns are reaching up the management ladder. These are how you build trust and ensure that your employees are engaged during the change process. Managing anxiety as well, very, very key. So how do you do this as a professional? Number one, you want to ensure that you address concerns very early before they first start. So early response to concerns, very, very key. And silence is always like an interpreter of bad news. Oh, nobody's saying anything, this is happening, and all of that. And there's no feedback, there's silence. Employees obviously interpret that as they are not being carried along, and this will increase anxiety of your staff. Also, you want to ensure that there's safe feedback. Anonymous survey is very, very key during your change process. Ensuring that you create a non-judgmental forum for employees to vent and to clarify whatever issues they have during your change process. All right, let's talk about some of the common reactions to change. Some of the things that you expect to see during a change process. This is very, very common. Number one is the resistance we've talked about, and people begin to push back. People begin to vocally dissent, concerns, and people begin to question many things, right? And of course, there's anxiety, like you said. People begin to get worried about their job security. Would my job still be able within the next 5 years if this AI tool is brought in, right? And also performance as well, like we said. But very key, withdrawal. Employees begin to withdraw silently. Some of them begin to look for jobs elsewhere, right? And this could lead to attrition, right? And so these are some of the reactions you begin to experience if you don't manage this process very well. Adaptation. People begin to slowly, just like the call said, slowly begin to adapt to the change, begin to learn, begin to grow, and begin to even contribute during the change process. So what strategies should management infuse during this change process? Number one, you want to listen, provide data back to why we need to go through this change at this time, right? Obviously, also you want to provide reassurance, okay, clear roadmaps as to where we are in the stages of the change process, and these are the timelines. Also, actively engage and check in with your staff. And then very key is you want to recognize internal champions to facilitate and push this change organization wide. These are common ways you can strategically manage this change very well, especially the change champions, for them to drive change at the departments and units, and of course provide feedback to the HR desk and of course to the management. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Samuel Duff. That was a very detailed lecture that you gave us. And I wrote here, change is not just operational, it is deeply personal. So I want you to check your screen. There'll be a poll. There'll be a poll right on your screen. Just, take a minute to take this poll. How does change typically affect your employees? What is your biggest hurdle today? How prepared is your organization to lead through major change effectively? So kindly take a moment to take this poll. So that's impressive. If you if you learned a lot, kindly react, put in your reaction and appreciate our first facilitator, because that was really straight to the point and that was really, really a good one. So kindly react to show you're here in class and you're active. Okay, are we answering the poll? Have a minute. Okay, I guess we should be done by now. And I want to introduce our second speaker, Adewale Fashino, as he takes the floor. I hope you're excited. Come on, let's drop our reactions to show we're in class and we're active.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sam, for that wonderful session. And then I think I came earlier than I should, but I'm back again. Right. So I'm really excited. And thank you so much for those that have joined us so far. And I believe that you've gotten one or two things already. So we're talking about change management, whether we like it or not, right? It's something that is very, very important and something that would have to happen. You cannot run away anymore. AI has made it such a way that nobody can run away because I was having a conversation with two of my friends. That was in the course of I think that was last week. And we sat down, we were talking. They are tech guys who have been working on AI, and they were telling me some of the things that AI can do. I was I was amazed. I was just thinking in my head that okay, so in the office, how do we ensure that people, are moving to this? How do we ensure that this can help our processes? Because that is change, right? Some people are still denying the fact that change now is not just for legacy organizations like Kimberly. We have been in business for 29 years, right? But even for organizations that started 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the technology that was available as at the time that you started is not what there's something else better than it right now, right? I was doing a bit of research last week and over the weekend, and I was checking out Gemini. Right, I'll just let me even see this AI thing, and how it can help us because we use Google Workspace as our own domain for work generally, our email and other things, right? The drive and all. And I could see that Gemini, there's also Gemini Enterprise, what it can do, how we can, turn things around and all. And it's quite amazing what is possible. So the question is that as an HR professional, how do you help your organization to go through this stage, right? Maybe some of us in our organization people are not yet coming to you to come and ask, sir, I want to try this. Can we pay for this? But very soon, it's only a matter of time, right? It will come. So the question I'm asking us now, how do we actually manage that? So before we go ahead, I would just like us to drop it in the chat box or anybody that would like to speak. Maybe you have a particular one concerning, maybe let's just focus on technology. You've had a technology changing your organization now, or maybe in the past, and it was a big challenge, managing that change management, or maybe you were able to, do it very seamlessly. I would like someone to just maybe drop on the chat box, or you can raise your hand so that we can call you up and you can speak. I would really like to hear practical examples of how we've managed change in the past, or maybe how we burnt your hand. Maybe you even left the organization after you burnt your hand, right? I would like to hear from us. Anybody that would like to drop on the chat box, or you want to speak, just raise your digital hand. Then we'll call you up, and then you can share with us, right? So while we wait for people to come, because I believe that we have a wealth of experience in this, right? While we wait for that, so I have very interesting data here, right? Which is from Gallup. I don't know any of us that know Gallup. They constantly do surveys relating to management and things like that, right? He said, okay, is someone speaking? Uh, okay, does someone want to respond to my initial question? Okay. I thought I had something. I'm still waiting for you, maybe on the chat box, or you can raise your digital hand and we can have that conversation, right? Yeah, so this data is quite interesting that 44% of employees globally report significant daily stress at work. And you'll be amazed that one of the stressors at work is change, right? People like the way things are. That's the truth, right? Especially when it's working for them. Right. So this play a very, very critical role in this. And for managers are the ones that suffer it the most. And I can tell you that for free. You know why managers suffer it a lot is that they have to first manage the change themselves. They have to now lead others in this new way of doing things. So it's a whole lot of managers. And that's why we have a 70% of managers account for at least area of variance in employee engagement score, right? So this also affects everything. So if managers are able to get it right, it helps the employees, right? But when managers are struggling themselves because their own perception, their own ideas, their understanding shapes the way the employees understand and a lot of things. So that's part of what we are going to look at in this particular session. As we look at how can we even get managers and our leaders to be at par with the change. We have also one interesting data here. We can just write it down, right? Like 21% of employees only 21% engage employees globally. Well, you can argue with the stats, but someone say you don't argue with data. Data is data, right? This from Gallup is well renowned and all. And then this is the figure globally of what that low engagement is, right? Estimated figure, actually. So I'd like us to take a moment to think about our organization as we are speaking now. Look at different departments within your organization and think of the people that have been reported that they are struggling to change. Just think about, I want to just take a moment, just think about it, that they are struggling to maybe adapt to change. It might be changing personnel, maybe changing the manager, it might be changing the tool, maybe the technology that you are using. It could be change, any kind of change. Just think through them. I'm still waiting for response to my initial question. I don't know if anybody would like to share personal stories. I'm still waiting. Maybe on the chat box, or you can raise your digital hand, then we can have a conversation regarding that. All right. So, please, can you move to the next slide, please? So we have a very interesting case study here, right? I'm sure that a lot of us on this call, and I've known Microsoft for a long time, right? I'm talking about at least from 2022, maybe from 2002, rather 2003, when desktop and all those things started coming into Nigeria. I'm sure a lot of us have known Microsoft, and we've always known them as one of the most valuable organizations in the world, and they were growing. But there was a time after their last CEO left, that's Steve Ballmer. After he left, just before he left, they lost a lot of their market share. That was when the Macintosh was making wave and a lot of softwares, companies were coming up trying to compete with Microsoft, right? It was a very challenging period for them. But then they hired in 2014, they hired a man called Satya Nadella. I don't know any of us that know Satya Nadella, right? And everything changed. And what was the focus there? He said that he noticed that what they have in terms of their culture was know it all. So the people believe that we are the zenith of technology, we are the zenith of software, we are the zenith of, IT and all. So they were not learning any further, right? They were just there the way they are. Then he brought in a change and he called it learn it all. So he shifted the organization from a know it all to learn it all. Because for change to happen, right, people have to be willing to learn. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, right? One of the easiest way to stay at the same place or at the same point is when people are unwilling to learn. And if we check our organization, like I said, let's just do a quick, maybe just picture our organization at the moment, and you will see that the people that struggle with change the most are those that don't like learning, who say this is how we do things. And then Microsoft has become a very, very critical case study when it comes to change management because they were able to adjust and they brought in a lot of initiative, right? Some of it and most of it were led by the HR. And one of the things that they did was to ensure that they integrate continuous learning into their organization. And how did they do this? By coming up with different initiatives, by making sure that they register them online, by tying their learning to their performance management structure, by making sure that there's constant knowledge sharing session. When people are transiting and they are leaving the organization, they ensure that there's always that knowledge passage to the next generation. And with this, once people have the mindset that I'm coming to work today, I'm coming to learn, I'm coming to work, I'm coming to learn, when change comes, they become very curious. So what happens is that they now want to say, okay, what is it about this change? But imagine an organization where there's nothing about learning. You don't do no knowledge sharing session. People don't go for trainings, they don't go for any learning, the managers don't sit with their team to train them. What do you think will happen when you bring change? The same attitude of, well, let me just go and do my work and I'll go home. That's what will happen. But you could see this was the change that occurred at Microsoft as at when Satya became the CEO of Microsoft, right? He integrated continuous learning into their culture, into their system. And now Microsoft is back up there where they belong. Again, I think if not the second most valuable company at the moment now, right? There was a time they've really gone down, but now they are doing very, very well for themselves. Why? Because the leadership at that time make sure that they integrated continuous learning into their culture, which drove their ability to change and to adapt to new times. So I would like to ask you now one thing now, that as you go after this session, now you can start thinking, how do I drive? Is my organization, first of all, a learning organization? It's not because we pay for training or we go to ITF. No, is it actually a learning organization? Are people actually learning? Is there a constant mindset that I will learn a new thing when I go to work? Or as they are entering the new year, is there a constant mindset that there's something new that will come up? Management might bring in something new. We want to be curious, right? We want to see how this can work. And this is actually one of the game changers when it comes to change management. Then we have another case study as well. So is someone speaking? Okay. So yeah, so part of when you are talking about change, one of the challenges that you also have, like we talk about, is resilience, right? And you see here again that when you come to resilience, one of the things that can conquer is that same continuous learning, having that mindset of learning. Once people have the mindset that they can learn at the office, you will see that any change you bring, they will first be curious about it, as opposed to fighting it, right? But when there's no mindset of learning in the workplace, people will always find anything they are not comfortable with. I don't know if you've seen two children walking together, and then maybe they see something that is strange. One of them just ran back to the other, but one of them say, "I would like to know what is there." That's what we are. That's the mindset of change, the mindset of curiosity, learning, innovation. How can I do this? How can I learn? How can I pick this? Another thing we can also do is what recognition as well. When people embrace change, do we reward the people that embrace change? For new initiatives? Do we have our leaders board for the new initiative? Do we have metrics? Sorry, please, can you mute? Someone is speaking. Can you please let me mute whoever is speaking? Thank you. Please let me mute. I'm hearing a feedback from my end. All right. Thank you very much for doing that. Yeah. So how do you recognize those that are learning? Right. Sorry, I'm still getting a feedback, please. I don't know. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. I think it's better now. Right. So how do you? Okay. Uh, Sorry, I'm really struggling to. I'm getting feedback from my own end as well. Okay, so let's go ahead. When we when it comes to engagement during transition, right? So when transitioning is happening, how do you actually engage? Number one, we talk about, in fact, we have spoken about communication so much today that from when Sam was taking the session to this one, communication is key, is the oxygen, like we said, of change, right? Then involve employees in decision making. A lot of people, there are two extremes to this, right? There are those that don't even involve them at all, and there are those that over involve employees in decision making, right? So we have to be tread carefully here to ensure that you are not bringing people too early into the conversation, because when you bring them too early in the conversation, what happens is that those that naturally are negative about it, they will initially shut it down. So you have to actually also be, you know, you have to also be, discreet as to know where to bring them in, where not to bring them in. And one of the things that organizations have done also is that before any change occur, there has to be several sessions. You have it at the management level or maybe at the board level, depending on the kind of change. Then at the management level, then the managers can go and have meeting with their teams. Then you can have you can have a general meeting with them as well as the HR, led by the HR or the team that is implementing the change. Then the managers as well have meeting with them. You gather all this feedback, you come back again to, to come up with, okay, what are the answers to some of the questions? Then you go back again for another round of town hall meeting. But what we do a lot of times, that where we make mistakes, that we just jump into town hall meeting. Then people punch holes in everything that you have said. Oh, pa, pa, pa. And at the end of the day, you just feel like, oh, we are starting afresh again. Oh, how do we how do we manage this, right? So that's part of what we have to also think of as well. Right. So also to provide participant feedbacks and everything is very critical. The managers are the change agents. I've mentioned this before, that we can't do anything. We can't make change without the line managers. You need them. The managers are critical to change. I've seen organizations who try to boycott the managers to go straight to the employees. Most of the times it's backfire. So when change is happening, you have to ensure that the managers are carried along. So because employees look to direct managers for clarity and reassurance. I can say this because I'm also a line manager. I have people that report to me. Even after you've done all the meetings, some people will still come personally to come and ask you questions. You don't want your line managers to tell them that, even me, I don't know too. I'm just hearing like you two. When you have that, you're already in very, very, very big soup. So you have to ensure that you don't have that. Then also too, you have to have the crucial translators as well. So because managers also serve as the crucial translators. They are the ones that understand the initiative and understand how it works, and they're able to marry the two together because they are in the day-to-day action. And as the HR professional or the HR manager, you have to lead this change. A lot of times, the MD or the CEO, they want you to boycott the managers. But our duty, if we want the change to work, is to advise them that you need the managers. So you have to manage the managers first. I know someone is saying, what of the case where the manager is the problem? Then you can think of other alternatives and other ways, but at least engage the managers first before you jump to the employees, because most of the time it backfires. The employees are confused. They don't know what you are saying. They don't know, and they nobody there to clarify it. The leadership alignment, consistency, accessibility, empathy. So, I mean, this speaks for themselves, right? When it comes to leadership alignment. Next slide, please. Then let's look at this case study. Yeah, Adobe. I know a lot of us know Adobe PDF Reader, right? So Adobe is a global organization. There's something that they did. They used to have their normal annual appraisal system before. But one of the things that they did, which I think is also important when it comes to change management, is that they started the check-ins. So they now do periodic check-in between the employees and the managers. So why they did it was that in the course of the check-ins, when people are reacting to change, you will know, right? So you don't wait for people to fill Google form to say, oh, this is what we think about this new technology, right? In the course of the conversations with them, maybe weekly, monthly, the check-ins that you're having with the employees, right? The managers are having with the employees, the resistance to change is being noticed. The likely change champions are being noticed. So this is one thing that they did. And I think it's very critical as well for us as HR to advise that even beyond the annual appraisal or biannual appraisal or whichever, for quarterly appraisal, whichever one we do in our organization, it's very critical that check-ins occur, because check-ins will let you notice impact of change easily and help you to navigate through it. But when you wait till the end of the year or end of the quarter or end of the 6 months, then things might have spoiled beyond repair. So this is another thing for HR people now. Put in check-ins, a periodic check. You can be by monthly check-in, weekly check-in, bi-weekly check-in, whichever one works based on your organization. And check-ins don't have to be very, very formal, the way you have for your normal end of the year appraisal or biannual appraisal or the likes. It could be something that is a bit subtle, but you have to create the environment. The HR set the tone, while the line managers pick it up, right? So HR have to make sure that set the tone for it. Let the managers know the importance of it. Let them have a buy-in to it. Then they can run with it. Then we have another one as well. Can we go to the next one? Go to the next slide, please. So there's another case study that we have here is Netflix. I know we all know Netflix, right? So Netflix is also another very interesting organization, right? And one of the things that they did, which has been ingrained into their culture, is radical. They call it radical honesty. You know, a lot of time, maybe because of our climb, because of the way we are as a people in this part of the world, we don't always like telling ourselves the truth because we don't want to offend the person. But if I offend you now, when I'm doing my marriage now, who will come and buy a shwebi? When I give birth now, who will come and who will come and give me money? You know, we have that challenge in this part of the world. But one of the things that they did is what? Candor. That's people being able to say how they feel about something. And this can only be done when the atmosphere has been created. And to champion that atmosphere is where HR come in as well. Atmosphere of honesty, atmosphere of real feedbacks, atmosphere of timely feedbacks, people able to say their ways, right? Say what they think rather about the change that is occurring. One of the biggest mistakes we make is that we sit people down with the MD or the CEO in a town hall meeting and we say that, come and say your mind. Some people will say their mind, some people are like that, but majority of people will not say their mind. So you have to create systems that work. Either you have groups within the organization that goes to meet these people, maybe people that they trust in the organization who have these conversations with them to hear their honest feedback. Don't worry, what do you think? I don't like this idea. I don't like this technology. I don't believe in this technology. No problem. Then you take it back. How can we now mitigate this, resistance? How can we manage it better so that these persons can actually have a buy-in, right? So that one, what I just wanted to pick out of there is that radical honesty. So some of the ways to also measure culture and engagement. Of course, I'm sure that most of us are familiar with all this, right? Pulse surveys, listening groups, which I think Sam also mentioned on that, and then looking at your retention data, right? How many people are actually going because of the change and the likes. Next one, please. So all these are critical, and then we have to put it there. And then some of the main hurdles, we have said that already: poor communication, change saturation. When changes are occurring too often. Last year we changed our CRM. This year we are changing to another CRM again. Next 2 months again, people having to learn too fast. So it could be a challenge as well. Or leaders misalignment when leaders don't align with what the other people are thinking. That's so all this can be mitigated by engagement and the likes. Okay, so I'm about to round up now so that we can take some questions and all. Yes, so successful change leadership, communication, critical. Employees are informed, support managers and team actively reinforce trust and shared purpose, prioritize both performance and people, right? So again, a lot of this falls on the table of the human resource director or manager or whatever title that we have, right? Because we are that bridge. We have to make sure that this change occur. If we are the first resistance to change, then there might be a problem. So the question I would like to ask is that let's use AI example. As AI is moving, is your HR manager, you as HR manager, are you the reason why the organization is not moving yet? Are you the one fighting the tide? You say, no, we cannot do that. I don't believe in it. I don't, you have to change. I don't even say you have to change your ways, yeah, but you have to all look at it so that you are not also the one that is resisting the change, and so that the organizations can actually chart a a path for change. Then, lastly, I think nothing beats planning, right? We can't jump into change. We can't just delve into change. We have to plan for change and plan to change. Let me say that we can't just jump into change or delve into change. We have to plan for change and plan to change, right? So that means there has to be a strategy on the ground, a clear plan of the first day, this is what we are going to do. The next 3 days, this is what we're going to do. By next week, second week, we are going to do this. There has to be a plan. Then we have to plan to change because everybody is looking at the HR, right? Because you are expected to be the driver of anything that has to do with people, right? So people are looking. So you have to plan to change. So with this, I think I've come to the end of this session. So I would like to take questions. And also, if you have contribution, I really, really, really would like to hear contributions from people. I mean, we have senior professionals here. So, I mean, things that have happened in the past that you've had to go through when it comes to this change. And, as an HR professional, and the one, I would like to also hear the one that burnt your hand as well. If there is any, burnt your fingers rather. I would like to just hear from us. Anybody that would like to speak, you can just lift your digital hand, and then we can have you, or you can drop it on the chat box, and we can have that conversation. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting for us, please. We can just go ahead now to speak and share our thoughts concerning this issue of change management. Uh-huh. Okay, so I can see a question here. Someone, Chukwebuka is asking, say, how can an HR manager manage layoffs while ensuring the unaffected employees continue to trust the organization and remain productive? This is a very critical question, and I'm sure that a lot of us have gone through this as HR professionals, whether in a very small scale or in a very large scale, right? This is one of the challenges that HR has to face because you have to be the one to pass the bad message. Well, the good thing also is that you are also the one that pass the good message when there's salary increment too. You are the one that will send that mail too. So it's both ways. So to answer this question, I think it's how communication is managed matters a lot, right? One of the killers of organizational culture is people having to guess what is happening. Right? People having to guess. When people start guessing what is happening, what happens is that they start seeing the unfairness in the situation. Right? Oh, why did they just sack him? But when you're able to manage, and in organizations, they are always, that's why as HR people, our ears have to be on ground. There was something I was thinking about. I said, see, a lot of information that you will need as an HR manager will not be gotten when you sit down with your people. It will be gotten in the canteen. It will be gotten in those one-on-one conversations you have with people. It will be gotten after the officer when you sit down and people are just talking over their heads. Oh, this for that one. That's when you start picking their perception. So it's very important that you know the perception and then you look for a way to address it. And you might not need to talk to every single person, right? You might just look at the key people. When I say key, I don't mean the leaders. So I mean people that they are the ones that they are the influencers, people that people listen to, the people's people in your organization, right? You might need to know them and then kindly carry them along to some extent, of course, discreetly, as to why this is the case. That this is not just because we don't like his face or her face, it's because of certain things. But when people don't know why their colleague is being terminated or employees being ended, they feel that they are next because of that lack of clarity. So that's one thing that we can do on our part as well. Yes, Princess, I can see that you've raised your hand. Can you please unmute yourself? I don't know if you want to contribute to what I said or you want to ask your own question. Please go ahead. You can unmute. Okay.
Thank you very much. Good
Okay,
morning and afternoon from wherever you're listening in. And thanks for the very impactful session that you've had so far. I just want to also share because I also deal with change management. And one of the things that I believe that we should also be putting in is the soft side of things, the emotional aspects of things, which you've already touched on. And so what I would just add is for us to go through, there are 4 things that, we can also go through. And I'm not trying to take away your presentation, but I felt, it's an addition to all that we've been saying,
yes,
not trying to steal the show or become the facilitator in any way.
No, it's fine, please. It's fine, madam. Yeah.
Okay. So now, one of the things that happens when change, when you're dealing with change, is that you need to form again. You need to form as a team. You need to form as an organization because things are being, shaken. And so you have to form and you have to concentrate on how you need to reform yourself. You understand? Form as in FORM. So you have to form back, so you go through that stage of forming. Forming, some people are going to be bonding more than the others and all of that. So you form as a team and start bonding together, but you must go through that and you must be very sensitive to that formative time, that formative period. So when you form, and then you're going to storm. There's going to be a storm because in forming, you're putting people that are not agreeing with each other together. You're doing things that does not necessarily agree with your normal or usual way of doing things. So there's going to be a period of storming when the whole organization, the employees and everybody will be storming. So you go through that storm stage. And the time you spend on all of these stages will depend on how all of those things that you've just trained us on, how they've been injected, how they've been implemented. So you're going to also go through that storming, so you form, you storm, and then you start normalizing, which is called the norm. You start normalizing because everybody's getting used to the new ways, the new system, whatever the change is, people start getting used to it. So as an HR, you must be very sensitive to see that transition from the forming to the storming to the norming, and then you start performing. So it's a storm, you storm, you form, you storm, you norm, and then you perform.
Awesome.
And so after the normalization, the performance starts showing up. You see all the changes that you put in there, everything, because everybody has become normal in their new ways of doing things, and then the performance starts. I thought I should just share that, please. Thank you very much for the
All right.
opportunity.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, that's just it, right? Because this is critical to have it the way you just put it, man. And I think it's just a mindset that we must have. And while we're also drafting the plan for change, this has to be part of what we put into place while we are thinking of how we want to draw change. Because all these are definitely going to be the phases that you will go through. There's no easy ride when it comes to change. Even the one that looks obviously obvious and obviously easy in quotes, right? By the time it gets to the table of a lot of people, you start seeing so many resistance. And then, like you said, we'll definitely go through those four phases when it comes to J. Thank you so much, ma'am. I don't know, do we have any other question? Our time is fast spent, but do we have any other question or addition? I mean, that addition was really impactful. So do we have any other person that would like to also share their thoughts regarding this topic? Or like I said, also if it's a practical example of what happened in your workplace, your present or maybe past workplace. Okay, it seems there is none. So I think we can, if there's none, I'm still trying to check out the chat box if I can see uh, any other question. Okay, so if there's none, thank you so much for listening in. It's been a pleasure taking you through this journey in the last few minutes. And thank you to Sam as well. So I think if that's the case, Anytime, I think I will just go back to you now. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, Wale. That was a really good one. That was quite impressive. And also a thank you to Princess. I learned a lot. Form, storm, norm, perform. So let's just check through the chat box. The feedback form should okay, it's right there. So kindly take a minute to fill the feedback form. Let's know, what are the things that you felt, we really spoke about and the things you want us to speak about in the future. So let's do that. Wow, I learned a lot in today's webinar. Shift your organization from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all mentality. So that's quite good. Thank you so much. Thank you to Wale. Thank you to Samuel. We really appreciate you for teaching us from your wealth of knowledge and experience. Thank you so much. Okay. Kindly follow our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn, Kimberly Ryan Limited. Kimberly Ryan Limited. So do well to follow us across all social media platforms. You will get content that resonates to your organizations, and you would also be up to date for when our next webinar will be holding. So kindly fill in the feedback form. Kindly fill in the feedback form. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining. We really appreciate you. Thank you, Chioma. Thank you, Chukwuebuka. Thank you, David. Thank you, Elvis. Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Happiness. And the slides will be sent to your mails. The slides for this webinar will be sent to your mail so that as HR professionals, we can go back to look at the slides and see what we need to get from the slides. Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Happiness. Thank you, M. Thank you, Ungazi. Thank you, Uluwabukola. Thank you, Precious. Thank you, Princess. Wow, thank you, Princess. Such a wealth of knowledge. Thank you, Taiwo. Thank you, Temitope. Thank you, Tolulope. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Wilson. Thank you all. Don't forget to keep warm in this cold weather, and don't forget to fill in the feedback form. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you again in the next webinar. Have a lovely day, and don't forget to keep warm. Thank you so much. Bye.